Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches. Today I am rather excited to share with you my first impressions video of a watch from a watch company that I've never owned before, and it's also a new release from this watch company. This is the Dan Henry 1945. I've wanted to own a watch from Dan Henry for some time. I think his ideas of watches are in line with what I would do if I was going to produce a watch myself. And that is take heavy inspiration from some beautiful vintage watches, upscale the size a little bit to something a little bit more modern, add some modern technology, make it affordable, and put it out there on the market for all of us watch enthusiasts to buy and enjoy. And this particular one, this new release, it has excited me because it's based on a watch from the 40s. It has a real World War II kind of vibe to it, and I really like this style of chronograph. These vintage sort of watches from this era are watches that I've always liked, that I've always been drawn towards, but they're certainly outside of my price range. Whereas this one, absolutely I'm able to afford. And thank you, Dan Henry, for producing such a great looking watch. I've wanted to own something like this for some time. When I was looking to actually buy a watch from Dan Henry, I sent Dan an email. He was very nice to respond to me. I was talking about another watch in his collection, and he said, just wait a minute, James. In a few weeks' time, a brand new release is going to occur, and maybe you might be interested in that one. And he was absolutely right. This one looks fantastic. If you are interested in this watch or any of the watches from Dan Henry, I'll leave a link directly to his website. There's no affiliations, it's just a link straight to his website, because I think it's actually a really nice watch, and it might be something that you might want to have in your collection as well. And if you like these vintage style watches, well, Dan produces a bunch of different styles from different eras, all based on watches that he owns in his own collection. But let's flip the camera around. Let's check out this watch in a little bit more detail. So here we have the Dan Henry 1945 in this watch tube. Normally I don't show the packaging that watches come in, or the outer packaging, but it came in this nice foam, and I was really happy because when it was in here and inside of a box, I thought, wow, that's well packed, nice and sort of compact, but I felt secure that the watch was going to arrive safe when it was arrived in this. So it's great to see some good packaging from a brand. And the actual watch tube itself is plastic. It's good, it's nice and secure, and it's something a little bit different to the normal watch boxes you get, and I quite like that, especially when inside you have a watch roll. So it really sort of suits that sort of look and suits that sort of dimensions of it. It's a canvas watch roll in this sort of two-tone green, which definitely sort of suits that 1945 sort of vibes that we're going for, doesn't it? And what do we get inside of our little watch roll? Well, let's have a looky here, shall we? Firstly is our warranty card from Dan Henry, international warranty. States that it's a 1-year international warranty. I feel quite confident with that. Being a quartz watch, I think that's perfectly fine. Obviously, the more warranty, the better, but that's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. We have a booklet here from Dan Henry with the instruction manual. This is going to talk about how to utilize the movement, how to utilize all the chronograph features as well. And it's actually a nice piece of paper. Feels good in hand. Fantastic. But that's enough about those things. Let's talk about the watch itself, because this is a stunning looking watch. Just check that out. Wow, what a pretty looking watch. And I think it's everything that I was hoping for from the Dan Henry watch. And that is those super vintage vibes from the 40s, that sort of chronograph, pilot, World War II kind of feeling watch, but for a much more affordable price than buying one of those vintage watches. And also slightly bigger dimensions, which fits me a little bit better. Finishing on the side of the case as well is a standout feature. I'm going to say that is really, really nice, especially at this price point. I really like just how the buttons are integrated into the case. It's got the DH Dan Henry on the crown, and I quite like that it's just subtle. You know, I'm not always a big one for sign crowns. I think it needs to suit the watch. So just having a subtle DH is quite nice. But have a look at that handset and have a look at that dial. Look how much is going on there. And what's really impressive is that because there is so much going on there, and because it's so fine, well, it's done so well. It's very crisp, very clean. All that printing is done super, super well. I'll throw in some outdoor footage now just to show you what it looks like out in the sun, to show you that dial a little bit better. It is really, really pretty. And if you look closely at the dial, that black is sort of like a piano black, which is really nice. You can see there's quite a bit of a reflection from those hands, which I think is pretty cool. We've got our 3 subdials. It's our second hand there. I think it's a 1/10 of a second, and the counter. Obviously, being a chronograph, we can have a stop start. There goes our 1/10 of a second. Around she goes. Ooh, very, very nice. I love this style of hands, this vintage looking hands. And the best thing about it, or the best thing about a quartz chronograph movement, is this little feature here. When you press it, ooh, that looks cool. Oh, I love it. The bezel, wow, this feels good. 12 clicks, bi-directional, giving that world time feature. So we can set it to a different world time zone just by 1 click. Very nice, very secure as well, which is nice. But one of the standout features for me of the watch is the case back. Look at that plane, stunning, and a lot more of a 3D sort of effect than I expected. I hope that it shows you on camera exactly what it looks like, because there's a lot of 3D depth going on here. That plane is really countersunk and sticking out of the back of that case. Very cool. And we got some text on the back, sapphire crystal, 50 meters of water resistance, stainless steel, Dan Henry, 1945, World War II. Wonderful. What about the strap? Well, it looks good. I'm going to say it looks very good, and it does suit the watch. Hardware is very nice. DH there again. But it feels probably not quite as nice as I would have liked. It's probably the only thing so far about the watch that hasn't made me super excited. I'm not sure what it is made of. It doesn't smell like leather. It is, however, quite nice and thick. And as I said, it does certainly suit the watch. Probably would have rathered a slightly nicer leather strap on it. But the best thing about straps that aren't perfect, or at least that maybe I don't like, is that they are very easy to swap out for something better. If anything is going to be wrong about a watch, I want it to be the strap, because that's the easiest thing to swap out about a watch. But overall, very nice, and absolutely nothing wrong with the strap. I'm not going to say it's bad. It's a bit squeaky though. Oh yeah, I think it's this one as well. Squeaky. All right, so what does it look like on wrist? Well, I'm going to give you a couple of views today, inside and outside, to give you a bit of an understanding of what it looks like on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. It actually sits really, really well. One of my favorite sort of sizes of watches, and it's so nice that this sort of vintage sort of vibe watch has been increased slightly from these original sort of sizes back in the World War II sort of era. Sort of feels a bit more modern, feels a bit more comfortable on wrist, feels a bit more like the sort of sizes that I want out of a watch. And here it is outside, just to show you something a little bit different and a little bit different light. Shows you how well it actually sits on wrist and how the light plays with that dial as well. Another issue, or maybe slight issue, with the strap, I've got a medium 6 3/4 inch wrist, and I'm on the second to last hole, but realistically I've got a little bit of movement there. I can actually put it on the last hole, and then it does feel rather snug on wrist, which means if you've got a much smaller wrist than me, that you're not actually going to be able to use the strap, or you're going to have to put some more holes in it, which is going to leave you with a big long tag. For me, perfectly fine. I like having a little bit of an extra tag. I don't like it to be too short. It feels nice and secure on wrist. Very, very nice. Thank you, Dan Henry, for making a really good looking watch, and something that I've really wanted for a long time. Both a watch from the Dan Henry brand, but also that sort of vintage inspired sort of chronograph, and at a price that I can actually afford, rather than some of these lovely vintage chronographs which I keep looking at, which there's no way I'm going to be able to buy or afford. As always, I am going to stick this on wrist for a considerable amount of time. I want to give this a proper, full, in-depth review and let you know all the positives, any possible negatives, and what it's like to actually wear day to day. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you in the next video.